Citizens speak out. People in nations such as Afghanistan, Bahrain, Brazil, Iran, Kuwait, Libya, Syria and Yemen continue to stand up for basic freedoms and human rights as they call for government reforms that will bring greater fairness to all.
With Kuwait's newly elected position on the UN Human Rights Council as of May 21st, both Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have called on the Kuwaiti government to address human rights issues. In particular is the matter of the nation's long-standing Bedouin population, whose estimated 150,000 people are still stateless, with no access to passports, certificates of birth, marriage or death, school, health care, or the ability to obtain jobs legally.
After a U.S. airstrike on a compound mistakenly killed 14 Afghans, including 10 children, Afghan President Hamid Karzai delivered his last warning on behalf of the nation's people, stating that these arbitrary and unnecessary operations violated human and moral values. U.S. Major General John Toolan issued apologies and condolences on behalf of the coalition to all the loved ones of those killed, pledging that the families would be compensated in accordance with the Afghan custom and asking for the continued partnership of the Afghan people.
Yemeni security forces killed up to 20 people and wounded 120 in Taiz on Sunday after opening fire on peaceful protesters calling for the resignation of the nation's president.
By Monday, Press TV reported that the number dead had reached 70, with as many as 600 wounded after government forces raided Freedom Square, where protesters were camped out in the night, setting fire to tents, firing on people, and then bulldozing the square in the coastal city of Zinjibar. The government launched airstrikes on Monday as part of attacks that had begun before the weekend. With the number of dead unknown and water and electricity shut off, many residents fled to mosques for their only hope of safety. The U.S. Embassy spoke out against the unjustified brutality, saying that protesters have attempted to convey their views through non-violent means. Meanwhile, prominent tribal leader Sheikh Sadek al-Amar, who established a ceasefire with the government Friday, issued a statement along with other defected military leaders, urging the nation to join them in further calls for the end of the current regime.
According to Tehran Times, a number of Iranian engineers rallied in front of the United Nations office in Tehran to protest the violent crackdowns in countries like Bahrain, as they expressed their support for the uprising there and in other oppressed Middle Eastern and North African countries.
In Libya, as Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's forces cut off electricity to towns throughout the western mountain region, South African President Jacob Zuma arrived in Tripoli on Monday for talks with the Libyan leader to try to find a diplomatic resolution to the country's violence. Also on Monday, 8 high-ranking Libyan army officers from Colonel Gaddafi's army met with the press in Rome after defecting to Italy, accompanied by more than 100 Libyan soldiers. One officer spoke of the army's intolerable killing and violence against women.
On Sunday, Syrian security forces opened fire on rallies in Talbisa and Rastan, killing at least 11 and wounding over 100 people, as one resident reported by phone that soldiers were breaking into homes and arresting people.
As we mourn the endured suffering and loss of precious lives, we pray for a halt to strife in all nations, so that people everywhere may decide in favor of shared peace, dignity, and freedom.